Welcome to the NBA Topic Show, powered by Analytics. I'm John Metler. He's Adam Scherher, rocking the Baltimore Orioles hat. We were just talking some MLB behind the scenes here. Adam, how's it going for you today?
Going pretty well. Had a solid DFS night last night. Baseball starting. Sun's up longer. It's warmer. Everything's good.
Yeah, everything's trending in the right direction. Who was the big one for DFS last night? Who got you the most money, or who was the best in the lineup or best value? I guess.
I mean, the Cam Whitmore and Reed Shepherd came through big. Jalen Green let me down. I don't know if you were following that Rockets game, but he played well for 3 quarters, and then they were down like 13 going into the fourth. Cam Whitmore and Reed Shepherd went on a run to cut it to like 6 with like 9 minutes left. I'm like, all right, cool. They're going to bring Green back. Didn't bring him back. Then at the 7-minute mark, they're down 14 again, and they bring in Jack McVay. And I'm like, okay, well, they're just done. So, yeah, I needed a little bit more out of him to win, which would have been really nice. But, cheap Rockets, bam. Like, it was there were so many injuries yesterday that there was just a lot of really obvious plays.
Yeah, the Rockets, I couldn't tell if they were actually injured, like if those guys are actually injured, or they're just like doing that Thunder thing where they're like, oh, we're going to lose anyways.
I think it's that.
Front end of a back-to-back. Let's just kind of punt tonight. And they put Reed Shepherd and, like you said, a couple of those guys in the starting lineup there.
Would be a crazy coincidence if all of the relevant players on the Rockets simultaneously got hurt.
Every single one. Well, I know Fred VanVleet re-injured his ankle.
Yeah, he's actually hurt.
Yeah, and then Thompson's missed a couple in a row. But I don't think Dylan Brooks and Şengün, I don't think those were real injuries.
Eason, Thompson, Brooks, Şengün, I'm pretty sure all were just front end of a back-to-back against OKC.
Yeah, they're just resting. Have you seen the Utah Jazz? They are just like full on, like it is tank season for the Utah Jazz. And then I was looking up to yesterday, the Philadelphia 76ers, because they're in a weird spot where, they're not in the play-in tournament. They obviously had aspirations of I think their win total was like 53.5 for this year, but their first round pick is only top 6 protected. So like if they don't get into that bottom 6, they're going to lose their first round pick, and their first round pick goes to the Oklahoma City Thunder, if you can believe it or not. So I think last night they were playing the Trailblazers. They were up, and then all of a sudden they were like down 15. I wasn't watching it, but I was like, oh, I got to go back and watch that, because I just know whatever rotations they threw out there were not winning ones.
Maxey got hurt.
Okay.
So like that didn't help. But also
hurt or
hurt. So like they might also be without Maxey now.
Yeah, because I know Paul George is questionable and they pulled him.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see the 76ers. They got to get into that. Could you imagine their season if they miss the playoffs and all of that, and then they get like the 7th overall pick and it goes to the Thunder? Oh my God. Like, what a disaster. All right. We are 47-30 on the year, plus 14.12 units. We went 1-1. Last Thursday, PJ Washington was a void because he didn't end up playing. Trey Murphy hit. Bull went over. Bull, he's gone over a bunch of times here. I mean, not like the Suns are winning with him in the lineup, but he's going over his points total.
That was the day that we had when we did the show. Beal wasn't on the injury report, and then he ended up not playing. So everything we had said on the show went out the window.
Yeah. I forgot about that. And then Beal, that happened to us on Tuesday too, because Porzingis was just randomly ruled out with Derek White as well. So we're 47-38 plus 14.12 units. Adam's from EV Analytics. They do fantastic prop projections. You can find them on the Covers website, Go Sports, NBA prop projections. You can see them all there. I know he's just trolling me with a Kentavious Caldwell-Pope on the screen there, because he is like the worst signing in the history of time. And I'm a Magic fan. That is some producer love right there. But we are going, if you're new to the release procedure, we have 3 bets for you. Tell you what game we're betting on, what prop market, what team, the player, the bet. And Adam's going to put these projections to work, put them against the market, and let's get going. We are at bet 365 for the first one, and we're looking for the Pacers Rockets game. And as always, if you see a better price, drop in the chat, because this is constantly moving on us. And it also kind of depends where you live, what you might have access to. And we're looking for the assist market, and we are going TJ McConnell, and our price is there. So we're on TJ McConnell under 4.5 assists, minus 105. Once again, that's TJ McConnell under 4.5 assists, minus 105. Next best price I saw was minus 115 BetMGM. If you see something better, drop in the chat. Adam, you want to break this one down?
Yeah, McConnell hasn't been getting a playing time bump so far without Benedict Mathurin. You've seen Aaron Nesmith get more minutes. You've seen Ben Shepherd get more minutes. Jarris Walker was kind of in the rotation last game, but you haven't seen a bump for McConnell. And I obviously that can change any given day, but he hasn't been as effective an offensive player this year as he has been in the past. And they seem to just be happy keeping him in this like 14 to 18-minute role. We have him projected for 16 minutes here, projected for just over 3.5 assists. So there is a nice margin here from a projection standpoint on the line. But the big thing for me is the fact that, so far we haven't seen him take on those extra minutes. It doesn't seem like that's what they want to do. And then you do get the difficult matchup here against Houston, a team allowing the fewest assists per game to opponents, a very good defensive team, slower paced team, and I assume a relatively healthy team today, other than Fred VanVleet, given that they all sat yesterday. So I think basically the things that you're trying to avoid here are, obviously McConnell just either running hot on assists in 16, 17 minutes or a complete change in rotation for Indiana, which again is possible, but they haven't shown that they want to do that. So looks like you're basically getting, the line is basically in line with what McConnell does on average, but then you're getting a well below average matchup. So it's almost just like the line is not factoring in the Rockets.
Yeah, it's not adapting to the Rockets. I don't think you can play the, second night of a back-to-back. Maybe they're tired. Maybe they get blown out. Maybe he sees more minutes because of that, because the Rockets, like we said, they didn't play those guys yesterday. Right. Like Dylan Brooks didn't, it's not a back end of a back-to-back for Brooks. It's not for Şengün. I don't know about Eamon Thompson. I think he's more questionable than the other guys, but it's not a back-to-back for those guys. So like, it's a completely different game for them. It's not like, all they could get blown out and type thing. So I don't think that's in play as it would be. If anything, they're more rested than ever because they got a couple of days off because they didn't have to play. The other thing too is I know TJ McConnell, he's shown up a couple times where I was like looking at his overs, obviously not today, but when I was looking at his overs, and like you said, this whole year, he's just been, you fire up the box scores and you're like 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 15, and you're like, this is like, wasn't he about like 2022 last year? That's kind of where I feel like he was. And that's not his role this year at all.
The other thing with him, and it's why I'm relatively confident, or as confident as I can be, that you're not going to just get a rotation change. It used to be in the past with him too. Like, yeah, he averaged more minutes, but he also, if he was playing well, he would get more minutes. If he wasn't playing well, he would get less. There was a lot of volatility in his playing time, and this year really hasn't been there. Like, it's burned me a lot in DFS because he's always cheap, and it'll be like, oh well, if McConnell plays well, I can just get this really cheap guy for, that ends up playing 21, 22 minutes. And it just doesn't exist. Like, even when he is racking up assists, he ends up playing 16 minutes.
Yeah, I think there was a stretch where Mathurin and Nembhard, or maybe Nembhard and Nesmith were both out. And you're like, well, surely McConnell's going to get like 20, 25 minutes. And like, once again, it just wasn't happening and just wasn't there for him. So I think I like this one. I think you're bang on. I think they literally have a clear role for him. What those minutes are. And I don't think they haven't really deviated from it the whole season. So
yeah. So far, you have basically needed Haliburton out for McConnell to get a bump. Whereas in the past, it was if any sort of guard was out, McConnell would play more.
Yeah, for sure. His role in the playoffs last year is way different than this year. So the first bet, TJ McConnell under 4.5 assists, -105 Bet365. We'll move to FanDuel now. We're actually staying in this game. We're staying in the assist market. A lot of assist bets for Adam this year. People were going to think I'm like holding you at gunpoint to put few assist props. And we are looking at Tyrese Haliburton, and we are going under 8.5 assists plus 114. So once again, that's Tyrese Haliburton under 8.5 assists plus 114. You want to break this one down?
Yeah, everything I just said about TJ McConnell, except for applied to Tyrese Haliburton, basically. But it's the same thing with the line here. Like, obviously, what I was saying about playing time for McConnell doesn't apply. You're expecting 34 minutes or so. That's what we have projected for Haliburton. But the line here is 8.5 plus 110. So you're getting plus money on 8.5 for the season. Haliburton averaging 8.8 assists per game in 34 minutes per game. And then now you get this matchup where you're going to get fewer possessions than on average. You're expecting to have less efficiency than on average. And you're getting plus money on essentially his season-long line. So it just doesn't make a ton of sense, especially going back to the point where this is not the second half of a back-to-back for anybody except Jalen Green and Jabari Smith, and who really cares, from a defensive standpoint. So it's just getting plus money on Tyrese Haliburton being worse than usual in as bad a matchup as you can get.
Yeah, the Rockets are just a tough matchup. I know you're talking about like the pace, and like the pace is a lot slower for Rockets games. I literally remember I had a total and say it was like at halftime, the live total was like 25 points above the pregame total I bet was. I'm like, oh, wow, this is dead. Or like, you just kind of know, right? And then it's just like the slowest pace you've ever seen in the second half and just dragged out possessions. And it went under by like 12 points or like something crazy. And I was like, whoa, like this game completely flipped. Like the Rockets can just really dial it back and stuff. And like we said, they're not on a back, like it's a fake back end of a back-to-back for them and stuff. So Tyrese Haliburton is interesting. Like 8.5 last year, you would have killed for. Imagine getting 8.5 on him last year at the beginning of the season. Like I remember he was like 12, and I think one time he touched 13.5 for a total. Like his assists were through the roof. It's just not the role he's in now. It's just not who he is in this offense now. I think that Nembhard is really the player who kind of has pulled that back a bit for him. Last year's Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield's just catching, shooting threes. So we're going Tyrese Haliburton under 8.5. Question, more plus EV. So I saw that before we came on here. The 8.5 plus 114. The 9.5 is the rest of the market is pretty much saying 9.5 heavy juicy under. Obviously, you prefer the 8.5 plus money.
Yeah, 8.5 plus money looks better. I think that the 9.5 minus so I was seeing 130 now, or I was seeing 130 now. I guess it's 140-ish, but yeah, still profitable there, but prefer the 8.5 plus money.
Okay. What's the projection? What was the projection for Haliburton?
8.
8. Okay. So it's under and it's big, and obviously the plus money plays too. And
to your point too with Haliburton, I just went back and looked. He was averaging like 2.5 more potential assists per game last year than this year, but he was also averaging like 2 more assists per game. So it kind of tells you it's a combination of he was getting more assist opportunities, but he was also playing with better shooters, or at least guys that were making shots at a higher rate than they are this year.
Yeah, because if you think of, I think their starting lineup to start last season, we're going way back, but it was like Tyrese Haliburton, Buddy Hield, Obi Toppin, which was just like pure offense.
Right.
and then they kind of flipped to that like more defensive lineup with Nembhard and Nesmith. So it's like they are a better defensive team. And even Siakam, someone who kind of dialed back his assists just a little bit, because obviously Siakam gets to run a lot of the half court offense, where before it's like literally Haliburton create everything. So just kind of how the lineups changed. That's how it's affected his assists. So we're going Tyrese Haliburton under 8.5 assists plus 114. You can also play the 9.5 if you want, but Adam likes the 8.5 plus money better. We'll move to the last bet here. We're going to bet 365. And we're going Raptors Magic. Raptors beat the Magic last on Sunday. And I don't even think the Raptors wanted to win. I think they're trying to give it to the Magic, and they're disappointed. Franz Wagner nuked the layup, but we're going to the assist market. And we're looking for Wendell Carter Jr. And we're going under 2.5 assists, even money. So once again, that's Wendell Carter Jr. under 2.5 assists, even money. I think there's also even money at ESPN if you have access to that. That's the next best price I saw. Adam, you want to break this one down?
Yeah, so this is just kind of similar to the Haliburton bet, where you're getting, in this case, even money at basically a season average for Carter. We have him projected for 28 minutes, which I think is a very healthy projection. He started 8 games now this year where Jalen Suggs has been out, Goga's been active. 26.8 minutes per game, 2.3 assists per game. He did play 31 minutes in this matchup last time out, and that is certainly on the table. But you do see volatility in Carter's minutes because, for one, Goga's not like a terrible backup or anything. There are going to be games where Goga just plays his way into a couple of extra minutes off the bench. But also Wendell Carter's rotation is very blowout prone. Not saying this game will blow out. It's a 7-point spread. Obviously it could, but Wendell Carter generally comes back pretty late in the fourth quarter, and if he comes back at all. And so he is somebody where, like, yeah, in a perfect world, maybe he does play 30, 31 minutes, but you're going to be very open to getting 25, 26-minute games pretty often, because if it is, a 14-point game with like 4 minutes left, he's probably just done. So he is very blowout prone from a rotational standpoint. And then also he does have a quality enough backup that you're just going to have some volatility in his minutes. And then obviously he's not a super high assist guy either. You're not talking about a ton of potential assists. You are talking talking about a high conversion rate because of him being a big. But like I said, in those 8 starts, averaging 2.3 assists per game. Toronto also surprisingly allowing the 11th fewest assists per game so far this season. And then you're getting even money here. So I think it's one of those things where there's, I think, just kind of more things pulling in the direction of the under than the over for Carter when you factor in that this is basically his average projection anyway. You do have some blowout risk. We have him projected for 28 minutes, which is a little bit higher than he averages. So there's nothing suggesting that he's being over or under projected here, and everything looks good.
Blowout risk for which team?
Yeah, true.
Oh my God, the Magic are just struggling like crazy.
Yeah,
I mean,
the thing about blowouts is you have to actually be able to make shots to blow a team out.
Yeah, well, the thing about assists is you have to make shots to go
Also
over.
true,
So,
yeah.
So I don't know Wendell Carter, because it's not like Wendell Carter is not someone who's gonna like drop a pretty dime or like something like that. Like it's gonna be like a flip to someone for, you know, a 3-pointer or something like that, and they're just not making three-pointers. So to me, you know, like Wendell Carter, like you're saying, the potential assists aren't very high. He's not gonna get like shooters have to make shots for him to get over that number. And like I agree with you too, where I think his minutes are very volatile, and like for like Jamal Mosley can go every which way with his, like he's not afraid to just randomly. This guy, I think Cole Anthony kind of falls in that category too, where you don't really know. I think you're trying to, like we're talking about TJ McConnell, it's like bang bang, like this is where his minutes are. Like Cole Anthony can play 32, 33, he can play 20. Like Jamal Mosley just does those things, and Wendell Carter Jr. definitely falls into that category of maybe I play Jonathan Isaac, maybe I'd do something different. It's also on the table that rotations look different because they just lost the Toronto Raptors on Sunday. So, you know, and you're also, I think they're like 28 and 33 on the year now. So anyways, I'm ranting because I'm a depressed Magic fan this year. So the final bet is Wendell Carter Jr. under 2.5 assists, even money. I was going to touch on this too once we're done the picks here. Based on saying 6 man of the year, leader is Peyton Pritchard minus 125, Malik Beasley plus 150, DeAndre Hunter plus 750-ish. The question is, will voters still vote for Beasley or Hunter if they have 15 starts? I don't. You don't bet many futures.
I don't know.
Yeah, me and Adam are more like spreads, player props, and stuff. I will say, what comes to mind with this is I think was it 2 years ago, Emmanuel Quickly with the Knicks had really good 6-man stats, but he also, a lot of those stats came when he was a starter. And then it was kind of, or like Brunson was out. I remember he was stacking like huge stats in those games and not really doing much off the bench. They ended up giving it to Malcolm Brogdon, who had a good year too, but he was like a purely 6-man, like 82 games off the bench. I don't know. I don't feel like Malik Beasley would really get punished for that, because I feel like he is kind of viewed as a 6-man. So I don't think he started. I don't think he's, I mean, you just have to start. You can't start so many games and then you're ineligible. So Beasley started a couple of games, but I think he is kind of viewed as a 6-man. So I don't think he would get punished for that.
Yeah, I'll say I don't, and this isn't like recommending bets on either of them because again, I don't know. But as far as Beasley and Hunter starting, neither of them still are going to be starting that many games. Like Beasley started last night because of Harris being out, and then Hunter started the other day because of whoever being out. I don't remember who was out. Mitchell, I think. And then today you have Mobley out, so maybe Hunter starts again. But like generally, the Cavs starting lineup, I think they're sticking with Strus, at least for the time being. For the Pistons, they're very obviously sticking with Asar Thompson. And I mean, Tim Hardaway, I assume, like at this point in the season, it's still Tim Hardaway. So like barring injury, neither of those, my point is neither of those guys are just jumping into a permanent starting role, barring somebody getting hurt for the season.
Yeah. Yahtzee saying potential assist not converting when you're passing to Cole Anthony and KCP. Yep. I watched a lot of Magic games, so a lot of fun. So the 3 picks today, we're going TJ McConnell under 4.5 assists, Tyrese Haliburton under 8.5 assists, and Wendell Carter Jr. under 2.5 assists. Adam, you want to let people know where they can follow you, where they can get those winning DFS lineups?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. If you want DFS content, check out the Endgame Syndicate YouTube channel as well.
So this concludes the NBA Prop Pick Show powered by EV Analytics. We will be back Thursday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Good luck with your bets. Dell, play the song.